What if the power to create something really impactful, maybe even a billion-dollar company, what if that power increasingly rests with just one person, a single driven individual?
It sounds kind of sci-fi, but some people are predicting exactly that. And it feels, well, closer than ever, doesn't it?
It really does. And that brings us right to the heart of our conversation today. Agency. We're going to dig deep into what it means to be an actor in the world, especially through the lens of this article by Mark Hazelton.
Right, the new era of individual agency, how AI tools are empowering the self-starter, the democratization of capability.
That's the one. It's a bit of a mouthful, but the core idea is powerful.
Yeah, Hazelton's piece really hits on something crucial, how AI is sort of leveling the playing field, giving unprecedented power to individuals.
So our goal in this deep dive is to really unpack this concept, agency. What exactly are we talking about when we say that?
And how is AI changing the game? And, ultimately, what does this mean for you? For your own ability to take action, create impact?
We'll use Hazelton as our jumping off point, but we've also pulled in perspectives from psychology, philosophy, business.
Just to get a really robust understanding.
Yeah.
Build the whole picture.
Okay, so let's start nailing down this foundational idea, agency. Hazelton kicks it off by defining it as our capacity to act independently and make our own free choices.
Mm-hmm.
But then he immediately links it to AI, saying these tools amplify our ability to take action, create value, and achieve outcomes that would otherwise be beyond our reach. What grabs you about that initial connection he makes?
Well, what's fascinating is how he immediately ties agency, not just to, the ability to choose, but to the power to actually get things done.
Right. Results-oriented.
Very results-oriented, yeah. Specifically looking at how AI expands what's possible for one person. Now, if we kind of zoom out for a sec, a more general definition, say from Wikipedia, calls agency the capacity of an actor to act in a given environment.
That feels broader.
It is broader.
Yeah.
It doesn't get into intention or morality. Right?
Yeah.
It could even include unconscious actions. So Hazelton's focus is already pretty specific. It's about purposeful action.
Right. So Hazelton's definition is immediately framed around doing things on purpose and overcoming limits with AI's help. It's less about just the general possibility of doing anything.
Exactly.
And then Psychology Today offers another angle. They define agency as a mindset plus a set of learnable actions for reaching goals.
Mindset plus actions. I like that.
Yeah, and they give it this practical structure, these 4 pillars. Forethought, thinking ahead, implementation, actually doing it, self-management, keeping yourself on track, and then learning and adapting.
That feels very much like personal development, doesn't it? Like something you work on.
Totally.
Yeah. Psychology Today really emphasizes that agency isn't just, something you have. It's something you actively cultivate through your thoughts, your actions, being proactive, taking control. Then 16 personalities gives us another useful way to look at it. They talk about 5 key components of personal agency.
Okay, what are those?
Opportunity, awareness of that opportunity, the actual skill to act, the resources you need.
Resources, right. Can't do much without those.
And finally, the intention, the underlying drive to actually do it. They use this firefighter example, which is quite good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if any one of those pieces is missing, the opportunity, the awareness, the skill, resources, or intent, the firefighter's ability to act effectively is, reduced.
That makes total sense. A firefighter could be amazingly skilled, but if there's no fire, no opportunity.
Their agency in that specific situation is 0.
Exactly. And just to make things even clearer, there's this piece, the difference between agency and autonomy. It highlights that agency is the ability to act and influence things.
Right, the can-do.
While autonomy is more about the right to make choices without someone else interfering.
Okay, so they're related but distinct.
Yeah. So you might have the agency, the skills, the drive to start some risky new business.
Right. But maybe regulations or lack of funding limit your autonomy, your freedom to actually see it through exactly as you envisioned.
Got it. So agency is clearly this multifaceted idea. Hazelton's definition is super useful for understanding how AI is boosting our capacity to do stuff.
Right.
But these other perspectives remind us about the psychology behind it, the conditions needed, and that difference between just being able to act and having the freedom to choose your own way.
Okay, so keeping those different facets in mind, let's really focus on Hazelton's main point. AI as this powerful amplifier. He argues these tools are dismantling barriers. What are the key walls he sees AI breaking down?
Well, he points to several really significant ones. First, the barrier of needing, super specialized knowledge, stuff that used to take years of formal training.
Okay, that's huge.
Huge. Second, getting access to expensive specialized tools, often out of reach for individuals or small teams.
Right, the cost barrier again.
Third, needing to build and manage whole teams of experts for complex projects.
The overhead. And finally, just the sheer time commitment. So many processes were just incredibly slowing down innovation. AI speeds a lot of that up.
And he gives some really vivid examples, doesn't he? Like a teacher, right? A former teacher building an entire educational platform without being a coding whiz.
Yeah, or a solo entrepreneur creating these sophisticated marketing campaigns that used to require a whole department.
Or that community organizer example, analyzing complex data without needing a PhD in statistics.
Exactly. It really paints this picture of a shift from, oh, one person can't possibly do that, to, well, Hazelton calls it a new era of self-starting. You can just do things, as he puts it somewhere.
I like that. You can just do things.
It captures it, right? Hazelton's core argument is that the critical factor is becoming less about the specific letters after your name or the niche skill you have.
And more about
your initiative, your agency, your willingness to see an opportunity and just go for it, using these new tools. He even talks about a new productivity equation.
Okay, what's that involve?
Basically, much faster cycles of trying things out, learning, tweaking, iteration, combined with way lower upfront costs, lower capital requirements.
That teacher you mentioned.
Yeah, they can build, test, refine their platform incredibly quickly and relatively cheaply compared to just a few years ago. AI tools handle a lot of the heavy technical lifting.
Okay, now this is where, for me, it gets really, really interesting. Hazelton, and also Jeff Giese in his piece, agency is the new superpower.
Ah, yes, Gies's article. Good one.
They both argue that agency itself is becoming the key differentiator, maybe even more important than traditional credentials or specific skills.
It's a provocative idea.
Giese goes so far as to say, look, intelligence, thanks to AI, is becoming almost abundant, like a utility you can tap into.
Right.
But agency, that drive to act, that's the scarce resource now. That's the new superpower.
That point Giese makes about intelligence becoming like a utility, it really makes you think, doesn't it? He lays out this kind of historical progression.
Yeah, talk about that.
Well, he suggests, power used to come from physical strength in the agricultural age.
Makes sense.
Then discipline and coordination in the industrial age. Then in the knowledge age, it was specialized knowledge, credentials.
Our current or recent past system, yeah.
But now, with AI doing so many knowledge tasks, the bottleneck shifts. It shifts to who has the initiative, the drive, the agency to actually use these powerful available resources effectively.
So it's not just having access to the AI brain.
No, it's having the will and the vision to direct it. Giese even argues that someone with, say, a decent IQ but really high agency, they'll likely outperform someone brilliant but passive.
Wow. That's a strong claim. And Giese talks about his own experience, right? About consciously trying to cultivate his own agency after feeling kind of reactive for a while.
He does, yeah. Which underlines that this isn't just some abstract quality you're born with. It's something you can develop, a skill almost, like a muscle.
He highlights how traditionally scaling your impact meant deep specialization and building big teams.
Right, that was the model.
But AI is changing that whole calculation. Individuals can achieve way more on their own now.
That's exactly right. I guess he touches on how the typical knowledge worker built their career on acquiring and using very specific skills. Now, AI could do many of those tasks, which links straight back to Hazelton's idea of the democratization of capability.
Democratization of capability.
Yeah. The focus shifts. It shifts towards people who can spot problems, imagine solutions, and then use these AI tools to make those solutions real, though whether or not they have the traditional background for it. It's about showing you can create value.
Okay, so if AI is this incredible enabler, this agency amplifier, what are some practical things, some concrete steps you or I or anyone listening can take to actually develop and strengthen our own agency in this changing world? Hazelton offers some advice in his Path Forward section.
He does. He emphasizes, first off, cultivating initiative, that sort of proactive drive, right? Not waiting for permission or perfect conditions, just starting things.
Okay, initiative. Got it.
Then developing taste, which is interesting. He means the ability to, critically judge the outputs AI gives you to see the possibilities.
So not just accepting whatever the AI spits out. Good judgment.
Exactly. Human judgment is still key. Then, building some foundational technical literacy. You don't have to be a coder, he says, but understanding the basics helps you use the tools effectively.
Makes sense. Know your tools.
And finally, embracing rapid iteration. Using AI to quickly test ideas, learn from results, and refine things. Fail fast, learn faster.
That really resonates. And there's another source, Brian Beebe's 5 Strategies for Increased Personal Agency and Empowerment, that seems to really complement Hazelton's points.
Oh yeah, what does Beebe suggest?
Well, he talks about embracing control over what you can actually influence, focusing your energy there.
Locus of control idea.
Actively cultivating competence in areas that matter to you. Clarifying your purpose, your why, to fuel your actions.
Purpose is huge.
Developing resilience, bouncing back from setbacks,
Yeah.
and consciously harnessing resources, knowing what's available and using it.
It's fascinating how these different perspectives line up, isn't it? Beebe's cultivating competence fits right in with Hazelton's technical literacy and taste.
Yeah, they both stress taking ownership, actively building the skills you need.
Definitely. And if you think back to those 5 components from 16 personalities.
Opportunity, awareness, skill, resources, intention.
Right. These strategies hit several of those, don't they? Seeking opportunities, awareness, building skills, harnessing resources, clarifying intention through purpose.
It all connects. And that other piece, the difference between agency and autonomy, it offers this even broader journey, mentioning things like self-reflection, goal setting, self-efficacy, that belief in yourself, resilience again.
It really paints a picture of agency development as this ongoing, holistic process, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It's not like a one-and-done thing. It's a continuous practice. Things like learning to communicate effectively, setting boundaries, building a support network. They're all part of strengthening both your agency, your can-do, and your autonomy, your freedom to choose.
Okay, so distilling all this down, the core message really seems to be AI is here, it's incredibly powerful, and it can dramatically boost our individual agency. It's shifting the focus maybe away from just having specialized knowledge.
And towards having the initiative, the drive, the agency to actually use that knowledge, whether it's yours or the AI's, to create value.
So developing both that inner sense of agency, that mindset, that belief, and the practical skills to leverage AI effectively.
That combination seems absolutely key. Key to navigating and maybe even thriving in this new landscape.
So maybe here's a final thought for you listening right now. In a world where the barriers to creating things, to taking action, are genuinely coming down, where, as Hazelton and Giese suggest, you can just do things.
Yeah.
What will you choose to do with that expanded agency?
Yeah, what new possibilities does that open up for you? What impact will you aim to create? It's a really exciting, maybe slightly daunting, but definitely exciting time.
It really is. Perhaps it's worth, revisiting some of these ideas, reflecting on your own potential, your own agency in this new era Hazelton describes.